Hi, I'm Robert Horton. I'm the programmer historian in residence at the nonprofit Scarecrow Video in Seattle, and I'm here to introduce another session in our ongoing semester of Scarecrow Academy. In 2021, for our late winter, early spring semester, we are doing The Art in Noir, Film Noir, and the Director, in which we look at some of the most celebrated titles of the film noir cycle, with a special focus on the art of directing. Our next entry is Fritz Lang's 1945 film Scarlet Street, which we will discuss online via Zoom on Saturday, February 20th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. All the subsequent meetings will be on Saturday afternoons, and you can register for the class by following the link that should be on the page where you're watching this, either the Scarecrow Academy page at Scarecrow's website, or maybe you're watching me on YouTube. In any case, click on the link, register, and Scarecrow will send you a link for the Zoom meeting on Saturday. There's also a link telling you where you can find the film, where you can watch it. You can always rent it from Scarecrow as well. So I'm going to say a few things about the film's genesis, maybe a few points to talk about during our meeting in my introduction here. Fritz Lang is one of the giants of world cinema. He was the leading light of the golden age of German film during the silent era, and certainly into the sound era as well. And in many ways, he was a stereotype of the overbearing, demanding director who wears a monocle and jodhpurs and carries a riding whip onto the set. He made some super productions in Germany, huge films, including some of the most famous of all silent films. Metropolis, for instance, which comes to mind for some strange reason. Spies, made an epic two-part film of Die Nibelungen. For his first sound film, he made the still astonishing film M, about a child murderer. And within a couple of years of that, he had fled Germany like so many other European filmmakers who would come to Hollywood eventually and help define what became film noir. By the time he made Scarlet Street, Lang was established as a Hollywood filmmaker, and he was as demanding as always, by most accounts, much to the exasperation of some of his actors and producers. He had scored a financial success the year before with The Woman in the Window, which is another quintessential film noir title. And the principals from that movie, the producer Walter Wanger, his wife, the movie star Joan Bennett, and Fritz Lang, decided to start their own production company to make their next project, and this was Scarlet Street, which also brings over from Woman in the Window the two male stars, Edward G. Robinson and Dan Duryea, and the cinematographer Milton Krasner. Scarlet Street, by the way, is a remake, which is proof that the old truism that remakes are always a bad idea is just completely wrong. It's based on a French novel and was filmed in 1931 in France by the great Jean Renoir in a brilliant film called La Chienne, which means female dog, so you can do the translating of the slang term for that yourself. Lang and his screenwriter Dudley Nichols reshaped the property for their purposes, and because of the independent production company arrangement that he had for this film, Lang actually enjoyed an unusual degree of artistic freedom during the making of Scarlet Street. The movie certainly has some of the hallmarks of classic film noir. Joan Bennett is a merciless femme fatale in this movie, and Edward G. Robinson plays a hapless sucker who gets drawn into her web. Lang's depiction of an urban jungle, which was all created to his specifications in the studio, not shot on location, is a typical film noir playground where what dreamlike visions can turn very quickly into nightmares. Lang's fatalism is well on display on this film. Also irony, the movie's about art, and the painter figure in the film is people say of him that he lacks perspective in his work. And when we watch the film, we might consider how perspective is a key to looking at this world, to how Lang uses the frame of the camera lens to put his characters in traps, how the way that people are arranged in front of the camera is a way of defining their power relationships with each other. Even a dead man who still exists in the film as a painting is hovering over some of the action in such a way that minimizes his domestic successor. Lang is drawn to patterns in decor, costume, behavior, and we'll track some of those patterns as they surround the characters in this story. how the camera reinforces the story's bent towards fatal destiny, and people locked into their downward trajectories, often of their own making. Some of other Lang's ironies include that in almost every scene you have characters who think he or she knows more than he or she actually does. Almost everybody in this film is pretending to be something they're not, at least at one time or another. One thing about Scarlet Street being an independent production, by the way, is that eventually it fell into the public domain. So for many years, you could only see the film in some pretty cruddy-looking copies, especially in the early age of home video. It has been restored, so I'm hoping that you will be able to watch one of the restored versions of this very fine-looking film. There's another artifact of the production company that formed around this film that is sort of a case of life imitating art, perhaps, which is appropriate given the art-related subject matter of Scarlet Street. In 1951, this producer that we mentioned, Walter Wanger, who was still married to Joan Bennett at that time, shot and wounded her agent because he believed that they were having an affair. Joan Bennett and the agent were having an affair, and he actually did prison time for it. Bennett denied having the affair, and the two remained married for another 14 years, which is interesting. There are longstanding rumors that Fritz Lang and Joan Bennett had been having an affair around the time that they were making Scarlet Street, actually, which, if that's true, means that Lang may have literally dodged a bullet by being discreet. All of that seems an appropriately squalid note on which to pause our discussion of Scarlet Street for the moment. This is a movie that truly goes all the way down the film noir line into a final 10 minutes or so that are haunting and quite unusual for a movie of its time. We'll talk about all these things and whatever else you might want to bring to this discussion of Scarlet Street when we meet on February 20th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And we hope you'll join us for a Scarecrow Academy discussion of Fritz Lang's Scarlet Street.